this is me, Undead Viking. I want to take some time out of your day to talk to you about this game. It is called Tradewars Homeworld. Tradewars Homeworld is a deck building game where each person is going to have kind of like their own tableau of cards, their own like setup, which they will slowly use to build up their mega corporation in the futuristic world of outer space. And along the way, they're going to not only strengthen their corporation, but they're also going to take some time out of their busy day to create giant spaceships that they can then have giant deadly laser battles with their opponents about. There are multiple different scenarios that you can play with this game, but it is still like kind of the basic deck building mechanism that we all probably understand how that works, and which, in my opinion, and a lot of times lately, that whole mechanism has grown kind of stale. And so when I find a game like this that is really fun, that uses deck building, I'm really excited. So I'm really excited to show you Tradewars Homeworld. There's a ton of fun in this little tiny box. So let's go ahead and I'll show you how to play. This is Tradewars Homeworld, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how this game is played. Now, keep in mind, this is a prototype that I was sent, so as I show you the gameplay, the artwork or the presentation of the game may change between now and when it is published, but the gameplay will remain the same. Tradewars is a deck-building game, so what you're seeing in front of you are the different cards you're going to be using to create your deck. Now, you do get a starting deck, as with most of these games, and I'll explain what this card is here in just a second, but here are the different cards that you're going to start with. You can tell they're your starting cards because the number down here, which is kind of like the value of the card, is going to be in that kind of like starry, orangey glow. And then you know that that is one of the starting cards for your starting deck. You'll notice that these cards up here do not have that color. They're more of a blue. Over here, you're going to have like kind of your score chart. There are three things on this that are very important. This is your chart of how much Quicksilver you have. Quicksilver is kind of like currency, and it unlocks different things, and depending on the scenario, it's going to be very important because it might be your end goal. The first person to X amount of points will win the game. This number here is what your star base is. It starts at 18 hit points, and that can be attacked, and it can be reduced in damage as it's attacked. It always starts at 18, and you run out when it gets to 0. In some scenarios, on like a like all against all type of situation, you'll play and then you're trying to kill the other people and destroy their starbase. This final marker down here, where it starts at a 0 and you have this marker here, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the number of starships that you can have in your star fleet, and you'll put your completed starships up here above your tableau. The starships themselves get unlocked depending upon the scenario that you choose. Now, when you play the game, I had 4 scenarios. Depending on the scenario, it's going to tell you what they are. So, like in Trade Wars, be the first mega corporation to collect a total of 200 Quicksilver, and then it says starships unlock at 20, 40, 80, and 160 Quicksilver. So there's an answer, like possibly a question you have. So this would be you play to 200 for the win, and then at those levels of Quicksilver, you'll unlock different starships that you're able to create at that time. Other ones are the Space Wars, destroy all opposing mega corporations. You can see you unlock the starships quicker at 5, 10, 20, and 40. To kind of speed the game along a little bit. Days of Glory is interesting because it's the first mega corporation to build all 5 of the galactic achievements. Galactic achievements are these, and these will only be used in that scenario, but these are like the different galactic achievements, and as you earn them, you get to place, you have these, and they give you special powers as well as you earn those particular achievements. The final one is the solo expedition. This is the Derelict. You got to destroy the invading alien spaceship known as the Derelict, and so then you're and that's a very, very fun solo mission. And then the Derelict cards themselves, it gives the Derelict reference. Then you get these Derelict cards as well, so you can kind of play against that and see if you can destroy the Derelict starship. I'm not going to go through each one of those different scenarios and explain them all, but that's what I got with this game. I got those 4, and they're all a lot of fun. So, as it is a deck building game, so you start with your starting deck, which I've shuffled up already. You'll notice that these cards have, on one side, they'll have, the weapon and what the weapon does, and, the strength of the weapon, which is 1, and, kind of that power of 1. On the other side, they'll have what it's worth as far as resources as well, and that's important because these cards are used for dual purposes. you can, on your turn, depending upon what role you pick, and I'll explain that in just a moment, depending on the role you pick, you're going to be either like building up your starships, or you're going to be banking cards to increase your Quicksilver score, or just using the resources that you have to purchase new cards to put into your deck so then you can create bigger and better things. Now, there is no set like statement as far as, like which side you're going to have to use. Like when you turn it over, it isn't what the case is. But because of the fact that this is a dual-sided deck, you have this card, which is the same thing on the side, that you have to put over the top of it, so you don't know what the next card is. So what's going to happen is that you're going to like take this, and you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you have to keep it underneath, and then you just put that over the top of it like that. So you don't know what the next card is, and then you have your starting 5 cards. Now, as with any other deck building game, you will be, like, whenever your draw pile runs out of cards, you'll shuffle up your discard pile, and then start over at that point. So the roll cards is like the really cool thing that I really like about this game. So you have these different rolls, starting with 0 and ending with 9. And depending upon the different things as far as the roll cards go, you have certain powers that you have. So like the trader, you draw 2 cards and place them in your hand. And you get to pick one of these. You can pick the same one each and every turn, but depending upon what your strategy is, you're going to be switching that up and picking a different roll. The smuggler forces an opponent to randomly discard 2 cards in their hand, and then you bank that amount. So you're like kind of stealing 2 cards from somebody. It's something that you can do, and then you can add the Quicksilver. The private. Force one opponent to discard 2 cards from his hand, and then you draw another card. Things like that. So I'm not going to go through each and every one of these, but the important thing is that like you get to some of these where it's like the commander or the captain, they allow you to reconfigure your starships that you have and you've placed up above you. And then finally the admiral, you can command up to 4 starships or 5 with the Galactic Achievement Award. If you're playing that scenario with that Galactic Achievement, you can command it to 5, and then you're going to be able to use those starships to attack another player, which is something I will explain to you in just a quick moment. The Chancellor is neat because you can negotiate like an agreement with the other players at the table. You can say no one's going to attack each other for 3 turns from starting right now. And if everybody accepts, they either draw a card, which they accept your offer, or they discard a card if they refuse. So you can kind of like force other people to like negotiate with you at the cost of losing a card if they don't, which is kind of a neat ability, and it has actually opened up a lot of cool situations when I've played the game. But regardless, the point of the game is usually going to be like either increasing your score here by using a certain role, like the treasurer or the smuggler, that sort of thing, to bank the value of the resource cards that you have into your Quicksilver bank. And you need to do that pretty much in every one, because you need to get that up so you can actually create starships, or creating starships so you can do battle with the other player. When you create a starship, you have to start with like a ship, basically. So like this one is like the USC Convoy. It's a utility class starship, and it has a 5 here, and that's kind of like the carrying capacity, the size of the ship. Now you get to fill that with 1 card that is a crew card and 1 card that is a weapon card. And you can, and if you're just buying cards in your turn, that's all you do is like you're going to be turning cards over and saying, I'm going to use these 5 cards as resource for 5, and then I'm going to buy a card. Then you look at the price of the cards on the bottom left of the deck, and you just purchase that card as you would in many other like these deck building games. Then you just put that card in your discard pile with the rest of the cards that you used, and then when you reshuffle it back into your deck, you have access to it. But regardless, so if you're building a ship, you're going to be taking like this, and you have a 5, and then you're going to be giving it both a crew card, which is kind of its hit points, and you're going to be giving it a weapon as well. So in this case, like you could take like this crew of 2, and you could put that there, and then you could have, say you had bought this AIM concussion missile, which has a power of 3, and you could put that in there as well and have a total of 5 to the 5, and that would be, you could go ahead and put that, and that would be a starship up here, and you'd place that up here, and then if you took the admiral roll at a later time, you then could use that to attack somebody else. And remember, you can have, depending on the scenario, up to 4 or possibly 5 different starships that are up there. Now, when you attack with a card, what's going to happen? I'm just going to quickly create a ship for an opponent here. Let's just say take this one, and we'll take a crew of 3. And I need another weapon of, let's say, weapon 2. Let's say that. So, let's say my opponent has this ship. It has a 6 capacity, a 3 a crew, and a 2 weapon. And that's my opponent, and I have this ship that I just created, which has a 2 capacity and a 3 weapon. So what happens when you say I'm going to attack somebody is one person is going to take the red die, and one person is going to take the blue die. And mind you, I should mention that each person has this same tableau in front of them. You don't share these cards with each other. You have your own set. But anyway, so each person will take these, and you're trying to, if you're the attacker with the red die, you want to get initiative and be able to beat the blue score on the die, because that means that your attack is successful and you can go through with the attack. So let's just see what happens here. So we roll, and I got a 1 and I got a 3. So in this situation, the attack would not be successful because I did not gain initiative, and I would, I'd have to go ahead and that would be my part of the turn. Now, if I rolled higher, like say I got a 4 to the 3, then the situation you have there is that you've won and you go ahead with the attack. And what you do then is you look at the attack value of my weapon. In this case, it is a 3, and you compare that to the crew of the person, or the hit points basically of the person that I'm attacking. If it is equal or more, you destroy that. Now, you go ahead, and then the person would take these and they put them in their discard pile because the thing had been destroyed. Now, an interesting thing happens if I roll a 3 and a 3, like so they're both the same. In that case, the defender has anticipated the attack, and they actually are the ones that get to attack before my player. So in this situation, they would say, no, I'm going to get to attack. We have a weapon of 2 to your 2, and then the attacker would be destroyed. So attacking isn't always guaranteed. Not only is there a chance that you won't actually succeed with the attack and won't even get to check, but you have a situation where they can actually, if you're not lucky and they roll the same number as you, they might be able to destroy the attacking starship, which is a pretty interesting thing. Now, the cool thing is that if you have more than one ship as the admiral, you can say, I'm going to attack with this ship first, I'm attacking that ship, and then you do that attack. And then you go, now I'm going to attack with this ship, I'm going to attack that ship, and you go down the line. And you can even have multiple ships attack a single ship. So like say you had somebody that had a very high crew level, like a crew of 6 or 7, and you can combine 2 of those ships that have that attack value, of total attack value of 6 or 7, and then you attack that one, and then and hopefully you destroy it. Now, if you attack somebody and they don't have any ships to defend themselves with, that is when you do damage to their star base, and you can start taking them down. So you have to kind of beat up the starships they have, and then until you can start knocking out their hit points, or their life value, if you will. So that, in a nutshell, is how you play Tradewars Homeworld. But the thing is the game has a lot going on for it. You have multiple different decisions with the fact that you have to both build up your corporation, by building up your Quicksilver, so you can actually unlock the ability to get your starships out there. So you have to get cards that do that, but you also have to, as I said, build up a strong defense because you don't want to get taken out. Now, the interesting thing is there's one last type of card, and that are these tactics cards, and I just want to briefly talk about them. They can be used as resources, just like all the other cards on the backs, but all these cards have certain abilities that you can use at any time, both as actions and reactions, where countermeasures. A defensive player may roll the initiative die twice. Here is increase your resistance by +2 until end of turn. Resistance is your ability to not take damage. That would be, as far as the hit points of your ship. Or attacking player may increase their initiative roll by +3. So if you want to really make sure that your initiative, you're going to beat the other person's initiative, things like that. So you can, mitigate the randomness or the chaos of combat a little bit, but the use of tactics cards. And so I've had games where people have really focused on just making sure they get really good weapons and crew cards, but then they've neglected to take tactics, and they end up losing because of the fact that the other people have these perfect tactics cards for perfect situations that allow themselves to claim the victory. So you need to take a balanced approach, seize the opportunity when you have it, so you can come out victorious. So, as I said, I've had a lot of fun with this one. I love the theme. I love the look of it. I love the whole process of kind of building up to getting to those big battles, which I enjoy. So let me talk more about that in my conclusion, which I'll do right now. thank you very much for taking time to sit through the gameplay portion of how to play Tradewars Homeworld. Alright, so, you know, I mentioned in the beginning, I like the whole deck building genre, that whole mechanism where we based a ton of games on that. It kind of hit a big giant splash when Dominion came out, and obviously that was very, very exciting and very, very successful. I really enjoyed Thunderstone and other games as well. And now there were some games that came out that were kind of, well, not as good, let's just say. But, you know, I'm always excited to try it because I like the whole deck building mechanism in general. I like the whole process of trying to figure out cards that work really well with each other. I like the process of, you know, not knowing exactly what 5 cards or 6 cards or 4 cards or whatever are going to be popping into my hand. And I love the puzzle that is presented to me with those cards. Like, sometimes the puzzle's easy. Obviously, I just need these for resources to buy this card or whatever. But sometimes later, it's tough to kind of put together exactly what you want to do. And I do like Tradewars a lot because of the fact that you have, like, pretty much always have an option, you know, like as far as just using the resources for something. But what I like is that, like, you're always going to draw those 5 cards, and then you're going to look at those, and then the added layer of the puzzle is the different role. The different role that you're going to pick that's going to decide what you do with those cards in your hand. And I you know, if the game didn't have these role cards, I mean, it might just be kind of just another one on that pile. But this is absolutely fantastic. I love the different abilities of the role cards. I love the different ways I can use them to mess with other people, directly mess with other people's plans on your turn. And the thing is that, you know, and people might say, well, you know, why wouldn't you just take the smuggler every time? You can just screw with people and take their coins. Well, that's not going to work for you because you can't just sit there and keep doing that over and over again because it's not going to be helpful. And the thing is that you need to actually then mitigate, like, being antagonistic with also doing such things as, you know, making sure that you're like, you know, building up your starships, or being a treasurer, or you know, being an admiral. You know, having actually like using your starships for something other than just sitting there and absorbing damage that you don't take. So you have to take a balanced approach to your strategy, but you have to make sure that you know, you're doing everything well at the same time, and that's a very difficult thing. It's a very difficult thing to like keep all those balls in the air and juggling them. And the person that does the best job of that is usually going to end up being the winner. I do like the fact that everybody kind of has the same deck of cards. They have the same process. It's just whoever is the most efficient, and then whoever is the has the best like strategy, not only strategy, but the best implementation of that strategy, and the best way to mitigate the luck of which cards that show up along with the rolls. It's just, there's so many different moving parts, so many different gears kind of conflicting with each other that I feel smart when I have a good turn of this game, and I like those moments. If you've watched these videos of mine, I love games that make me feel, oh, I figured that out. You know, I like that moment. You know, it's like win or lose, I don't care. Just give me a couple moments that give me challenging decisions. Give me moments that allow me to feel brilliant, and give me moments to like be able to either cheer my victory or be, you know, upset with my loss, but then also want me to bring that game back to the table and play it again. And that is exactly what Tradewars Homeworld does for me. So there you go. If you have any questions about the game, please let me know. I'll try to answer those to the best of my ability. As always, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. And until next time, I am the Undead Viking, and I'm telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.